Our keynote speakers tonight is the Honourable Philip S, 24th Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba. He received the Order of Canada in 1999 and the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal in 2002. Mr. Lee has a distinguished record of leadership within Winnipeg's Chinese Canadian community. Now we would like to invite the Honourable Philip S to the stage.
Thank you, Mr. and Madam Chairpersons. Minister Peter Kent, the Minister of Environment, Minister Chan, the Provincial Minister of the Members of Parliament of Ontario, Your Worship, Frank, Consul General Mr. Fang from the People's Republic of China, councillors of all the municipalities, Gloria Low, the Director of Hong Kong Economic and Trade. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, chers amis entrepreneurs innovateurs, chers membres de l'Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs. C'est un grand honneur de me joindre à vous ce soir à l'occasion de cette célébration d'excellence et de développement. I'm very delighted to be here tonight and thanks to the ACCE and all the executives. But I'm especially delighted that I know a young lady only 3 minutes ago and she agreed to my tentative seconded civilian aid. And that's on my right-hand side, Miss Tracy, and she agreed to be my civilian aide tonight. And honestly, in all my 2.5 years as Lieutenant Governor, I never have a young lady like that to be my aide-de-camp. That's a big hand for her. As you know, as the 24th Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba and also the first Chinese Canadian in Manitoba to become the Lieutenant Governor, I have often been invited to institutions, schools, hospitals, and so on to meet with people and talk to the students and other professionals. And one time, and every time I always bring an aide-de-camp with me, usually with military uniforms and male or female. And this time I brought a tall gentleman from the military, an air military commander. And so we went to this school with some grade 3 students. And one boy was very excited and went home to tell his mother. He said, "Mom, the Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba came to my school today." And the mother said, "Son, what did he look like?" He said, "I don't know, this tall gentleman in military uniform was standing on the stage." But it was that Chinese guy that did all the talking. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese Canadian Entrepreneur Awards are an evening of celebration, and not just the entrepreneur who receive awards. These awards celebrate the remarkable progress of the Chinese Canadian community, especially those in Ontario, Toronto, and other major cities in Canada. Part of that progress is seen in the growth of success of the Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs. In just over a decade, this organization has gone from 100 members, mostly in the Toronto area, to 1,000 members from coast to coast. And while you have grown, you have produced films on the history of the Chinese-Canadian community, supported China-Canada trade connections, launched educational and networking programs, and raised a substantial amount of money for charity. These are definite signs of a confident, forward-thinking, and socially aware community. These awards are also a sign of the progress of Canada as a whole. Each year, these awards honor a remarkable cross-section of business excellence, men and women working in information technology, the professions, manufacturing, finance, health sciences, retail, the service sector, and other fields are recognized for their achievements and for giving back to the community. These are the people who build prosperity in Canada. Their achievements create jobs, add to the tax base of our cities and provinces, and build partnership for future growth. As I recall, when I first came to Canada almost 50 years ago, as a young student, many of the foreign students strive to look for excellence, looking forward to become either a doctor, a lawyer, a business executive, or eventually an entrepreneur. And this one classmate of mine eventually received his doctorate in a medical college. And then he came out to work like 10 hours a day. No wonder the doctors make so much money. Anyway, one night he went home and his wife told him that the toilet was plugged. So he called the plumber and said, "I need help," although it's quite late at night. And within half an hour, somebody rang the bell and he opened the door and looked at the guy. And this plumber happened to be also a Chinese Canadian. So he said, "Sir, can you help me to service my toilet because it's plugged?" So the guy took a snake and a plunger and just wiggled around and pushed the plunger, and the job was done. So, "Sir, how much do I owe you?" And then the plumber handed the doctor the bill, $400. So, wow, $400. You know, when I, as a doctor, went for house call, I never charged that much. And the reply was, "Neither was I when I was a doctor." What a remarkable story that is, given the origins of the Chinese business community and indeed of the Chinese community in Canada. 100 years ago, when the Chinatown in my hometown, the city of Winnipeg, was first established, an estimated 1/3 of the 800 members of the city's Chinese community worked in laundries, and virtually all other Chinese businesses were either small restaurants or corner stores. This situation was more or less the same across Canada. The founder of the first Chinese communities in Canada came to this country with nothing but a desire to create better opportunities for their families. As we all know, many of them took on difficult and dangerous work building the railroad that united Canada in the 19th century. Those who then went into business risked all their savings, usually to establish a small customer service business. They had many challenges in business. During the years of the Chinese Exclusion Act, many Chinese communities and Chinatowns saw their populations dropped. Then, of course, like other small businesses, they had to endure the Great Depression. Without much in the way of cash reserves to see them through the hard times. But those pioneers in the Chinese business community endure and inspire future generations to learn new skills, find new opportunities, and respond to a changing world. I've seen those changes play out in my own corner of this great country, and I'm sure that many of you who are in the same generation as me could tell a similar story. When I arrived in Manitoba as a young university student in the early 60s, Manitoba Chinese community was still quite small, but there was a real stirring of energy. To some extent, what helped to bring about new community spirit in our old Chinatown was a plan to extend a freeway into the community, which would require demolishing many old buildings. When people came out to save Chinatown, that prompted a new spirit of appreciation for the community. And around that time, in the 1960s, there was a new spirit of Canadian nationalism, and that grew in part out of the fertile soil of Expo 67 in Montreal. Remember, that was the centennial year of Canada. Canadians of all backgrounds and ethnic origin began to think of the country as a place that celebrated culture and peoples and around the world. And we also see that these events like the popular multicultural festival, we call it Fokorama in Manitoba, like the caravans in Toronto, in my hometown. A festival I was proud to be part of back in 1970, and which is still going very strong. We see the effect of that new spirit very clearly in the cities with the largest Chinese Canadian communities, that is Toronto and Vancouver. People in Toronto have been very proud for very long of the multicultural nature of Canada's largest city. And in Vancouver, there is a very strong sense of being part of a network of interconnected cities all along the Pacific Rim. I'm sure that the great success of Chinese Canadian entrepreneurs in these two cities, which between them have 70% of the Canadian Chinese community, has contributed to this support for diversity. So many Canadians work in jobs that have been created by members of this association that the benefits of a diverse society are simply undeniable. Returning to my own personal observation, I can tell you that Manitobans, like other Canadians, have become more and more appreciative of cultural diversity and of the importance of immigration in bringing new ideas and new energy. In my home province, Manitoba, the last decade has seen us rise above our old status as a have-not province. We know that an increase in immigration has played a big role in improving opportunities and prosperities for everybody in Canada. Though we have located in the heart of North America, Manitobans are enthusiastic about making connections across the Pacific Ocean. Our exporters work to build markets in China. Our world-renowned Winnipeg Royal Ballet has performed to enthusiastic audiences in China. Our universities participate in research partnership with the top research institutions in China. As a community, both in Manitoba and across Canada, particularly in Toronto and Ontario, we have moved far beyond the limitations felt by those residents of the first Chinatowns. We treasure our history, but we look to the future that we are building in cities and towns across Canada. And one of the ways of building that future is building prosperity through creativity, hard work, and entrepreneurship. En tant que Lieutenant Gouverneur du Manitoba et en tant que fier citoyen canadien, je tiens à remercier tous les récipients du prix de ce soir ainsi que l'Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs d'avoir joué un rôle important dans cette merveilleuse histoire de réussite que se continuera. As Lieutenant Governor of Manitoba and a proud Canadian, I thank you all tonight's award recipients and the Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs for being part of a great and continuing success story. 多謝, thank you, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, the Honourable Philip Lee, and if you could please stay on stage, we'd like to have some photos, and Alan Kwong would like to present a plaque in appreciation to you.
Thank you. Thank you, the Honourable Philip Lee.
For your information, your president and chairman, Alan, came from the same high school as I was in Hong Kong. Alan.
Thank you.